India is facing not just an obesity problem, we're facing a metabolic crisis. Today, more than 135 million Indians are living with obesity. And what's more alarming is that many of them don't even look obese. Clearly, this is no longer just about diet or willpower.
Calling obesity a lifestyle disorder is like calling that diabetes is caused by eating sugar, which is not true, which is outdated.
In the Indian population, do we see different obesity patterns compared to the West, especially in terms of fat distribution and metabolic risk?
This phenotype, which we call a toffee phenotype, the thin outside, fatty inside phenotype, it's a chronic disease with lifestyle is a contributor, not the culprit.
Here, a lot of Indian celebrities, Bollywood
Yes.
celebrities, Karan Johar is using it. Other Bollywood celebrities are using it. So how does this work? When does one use it?
This is not a new molecule. Okay. Yes, they might have gone off patent recently because of social media and celebrity using it. It is now a newer concept for Indian people. But
Hello, I'm Dr. Aradhya Giri, and you're listening to Doc Talk powered by Collect Care. Join us on today's deep dive conversation on one of the most misunderstood conditions in modern medicine, obesity. To help us truly understand this beyond the surface, we have with us a highly accomplished and respected voice in metabolic health, Dr. Rajat Dev, an endocrinologist from Durg, Chhattisgarh. Dr. Dev is currently serving as an assistant professor in the Department of Medicine at Sri Shankaracharya Institute of Medical Sciences, Durg. He has completed his DM in endocrinology with his MD in medicine from Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Medical College. His work goes beyond clinical practice. He has been actively involved in research with multiple publications in reputed journals, particularly in areas like diabetes, fatty liver disease, and metabolic disorders. He was also awarded the Best Original Article 2025 by the Indian Journal of Endocrinology and Metabolism, making him someone who truly understands the metabolic puzzle in its entirety. Doctor, welcome to the podcast. Great to have you here.
thank you. Thank you very much.
So, before we jump into the questions, let's set the stage. India is often called the diabetes capital of the world. But what's driving that? Studies show now that Indians have a higher body fat percentage at lower BMIs compared to Western populations. And importantly, visceral fat is significantly higher in people who appear lean, which means traditional advice, which is eat less, move more, may not be enough anymore. Diabetes is often seen as a lifestyle problem. Do you think that definition is outdated in today's clinical practice?
Definitely. Look, calling obesity a lifestyle disorder is like calling that diabetes is caused by eating sugar, which is not true, which is outdated. Nowadays, we clearly know that we are, as a country, we are agricultural based community. We depend on agricultural products for our food. So that because of which our overall staple food is consisting of lot of carbohydrate, and with that, in a background of a sedentary lifestyle and this phenotype, which we call a toffee phenotype, the thin outside, fatty inside phenotype, is all this factor along with our genetics and ethnicity is causing this complexity of having what we call a metabolic syndrome, which not only includes obesity, which is mainly central, but also it includes complications of obesity like diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and dyslipidemia, fatty liver. These all creates an patient in such a way that he or she may develop any complication and eventually land up in a cardiovascular disease.
So if this is outdated, why do so many patients struggle with weight loss despite repeated dieting and exercise attempts? Because clearly there's something deeper at play. What actually drives weight gain at a biological level? Are hormones playing a bigger role than we previously thought?
Yes. So nowadays, a lot of patients contact us and say that, sir, I have tried everything and yet failed. And they are not lying. They're actually that is all actually the truth that they have tried everything, But the problem is the concept of calories has been outdated. Previously, we used to think that obesity is about whatever the total calorie consumption and expenditure, but it's not like that. There is an orchestra of hormones which are taking care of your appetite, your satiety, everything. So definitely, whenever some patient contact me and says, "Sir, I have lost 5 kg, 10 kgs in previous year, but again I regained it," that is because your body is fighting back. And the most important part is the brain gut axis, which includes the appetite circuits as well. Because whenever you start losing, you cut down your calories, you're losing weight, your body is senses that, and it adjusted according to it. So hunger hormones like ghrelin goes up, leading to a lot of hunger feeling. On one side, other hormones also tries to conserve the energy. As a result, now you are in a state where you are feeling hungry and your body is burning less, and that is the main reason that after 2 or 3 months of losing weight, you reach a plateau state where you do not lose your weight further, and you end up in what we call it giving up, that I can't lose weight despite of multiple tries. That is the main reason.
So this is where India becomes unique. In the Indian population, do we see different obesity patterns compared to the West, especially in terms of fat distribution and metabolic risk?
Look, it is very important to understand the ethnicity. There are Western population who are Caucasians. There are then Asians, and we are Southeast Asian. Because we have seen lot of famines in last 2,000 years. That is why our body has built in such a manner that it tries to store food and energy in the form of fat rather than consuming it. As a result, our fat percentage, especially the visceral fat, which is a dangerous fat, which is just around your intestine and your visceral organs, that is the main reason that why Indians even develop diabetes and dyslipidemia and cardiovascular disease even at a lower BMI. The cutoff for calling obesity for Indian people is 2 or 3 kg per meter square less than the Western counterparts. We developed diabetes a decade earlier than the Western counterparts. So we cannot compare ourselves to them. Yes, that is why it becomes more important, because Western countries people are eating more food which is rich in protein. Their genetics are
Yeah.
different, whereas we are consuming a carbohydrate based diet and our genetics are different. And that is the main reason we need to understand that we are different from other populations, and we need to focus on that as well.
Sir, so with this understanding, how has the treatment approach evolved beyond just diet and
Okay.
exercise here in India? And now we're hearing a lot about newer therapies, especially GLP-1. What exactly are there and how do they work in simple terms? We hear a lot of Indian celebrities, Hollywood
Yes.
celebrities, Karan Johar is using it, other Bollywood celebrities are using it. So how does this work? When does one use it? And in the Indian context, how do we understand it?
Okay. So first of all, we need to understand that how it naturally works. So whenever you are eating a mindful eating, I'm not talking about eating while looking at the television or mobile. I'm talking about a mindful eating. So you're eating, your food is going to the gut, but your brain is receiving a signal that now it's enough. My stomach is full. You are getting a satiety signal. Now this satiety signal comes because of a hormone which is known as GLP-1. So these hormones have multiple functions. A satiety hormone, it releases insulin in a good way. It reduces your gut motility. So first of all, I want to correct that this is not a new molecule. Okay, we have, yes, they might have gone off patent recently because of social media and celebrity using it. It is now a newer concept for Indian people, but we are using these molecules for more than 2 decades. So the first GLP was already extracted in 2005. So this is not a new concept. We already knew that this is something which will help us. But what is important here is that while previously what we used to do, that lifestyle modification, 3 to 5% body weight loss, beyond which when patient used to fail, they used to go for bariatric surgery. Now the best part is before there was a big bridge between a lifestyle modification and a pediatric surgery. Now this gap is being filled by these newer therapies which are available, and they are not only effective in losing weight, but they have effect beyond that. They are having an organ protection effect as well. That is the newer part which is which you can say that this is the newer thing, not the molecules. Molecules are there for a longer period of time. What the newer thing is the evidence that we have with these molecules.
Some of these drugs are even called like they're being called game changers. Drugs
Okay.
like semaglutide. What makes them different from traditional weight loss approaches?
Okay, so when we say semaglutide as game changer, why we are calling semaglutide as game changer? Because we have more than 10 GLP-1 analog with us, like liraglutide, dulaglutide. A lot of them has been tried extensively but extensively among patients with diabetes. What happened? What changed during the trials with GLP is that they saw that not only it was controlling the diabetes, but it was reversing it, a kind of reversing it, not exactly, but a kind of reversing it by losing weight. So then it was studied among obese non-diabetic patients as well, and it was found that semaglutide is different from other molecules because of two or three major reasons. First of all, you just have to apply it once a week because it's having a longer duration of action. Second is that it was causing weight loss in double figures. Previously, most of the GLP-1 analogs were causing weight loss in single digits, like 3%, 5%,
Yeah.
7%. But semaglutide actually led to weight loss of up to 21% in population, especially in Asian population. Even with the suboptimal dose, the weight loss was significant among in reaching or comparable to bariatric surgery. So that is why it becomes a game
Okay.
changer. Just like when cardiac stents were discovered, open heart surgery decreased. Similarly, when GLPs are now discovered, the number of bariatric surgery will definitely go down. So that is the game changer aspect, that you are achieving weight loss equal to bariatric surgery even without undergoing the surgeon's knife. That is the main important game changing part.
So, but of course, this isn't for everyone, right? These therapies are not aimed for everyone. So, who is the right candidate for these therapies? And equally important, who should not be taking them?
Okay. So when we talk about evidence based medicine, we say that any drug which is having effects will definitely have adverse effects. Okay. Because a molecule which is not having any effect will not show any adverse effect. So what is important is you have to use it under supervision by proper guidance of a well qualified endocrinologist. That is the most important thing, the thumb rule. If you are taking it as a over the counter prescription or someone who is not having any expertise in weight loss, then you are in trouble. So the first thing is you have to consider this as a treatment, not as a trend. You are not taking just because you want to fit in your reception lehenga or marriage lehenga. No, you are not using this. You are using it for your treatment for long term benefit. There are more than 300 diseases caused by obesity. So, first of all, a well qualified doctor. Second important thing, those individuals who are having family history of medullary thyroid cancer, in those individuals should be avoided. In those individuals who are already have some GI issues, GI diseases, having history of pancreatitis, in them we have to avoid these molecules. So this is the most important part, that you have to take it from a well qualified doctor.
So, that was really eye opening. So, for patients who are considering this, if someone starts such treatment, what should they realistically expect in terms of results, duration, and its long term sustainability?
So again, uh, this is a continuation of the previous question, that I think that while I was telling in
Yeah.
which population we should avoid it, again one population I missed, that is the pregnant ladies. That is very important. That if you are
Okay.
expecting or you are planning for a pregnancy, it's better to stop your GLP-1 therapy even before you plan it. Not because it is contraindicated, because the research has not been done yet in pregnant ladies. So that is why. Yes, there may be some individuals who are having excessive weight and not conceiving. They might try to lose the weight and then you can go for it, but not during the pregnancy. Now, the realistic expectation. We are talking about realistic expectation. So, as I mentioned, the weight loss is gradual. It is not going to happen overnight. We start the dose with a lower dose. It's just like we start with 0.25, then 0.5, 1 milligram, then 1.7, and then the therapeutic dose of 2.4 milligram. So you will start losing weight from the very first month, like 1 or 2 kgs in the first month, then gradually, and over a period of 16 months, you will almost lose 20 to 25% of the body weight. And the most important part is the response can vary depending on the individual. There are many individuals who are losing more than 25 kg. There are many individuals who are not losing more than 15 kg. So the response is individual. There should be a realistic state of mind that I will lose 2% body weight every month, and that is how I will lose 20 or 30% in next 1 year or 1.5 years. It's not a therapy that you initiate and you just stop it after losing 5 or 6 kg. Definitely, you will regain it, and that is the main issue.
Let's make things interesting. Let's proceed
Okay.
with the rapid fire round.
Okay.
So, quick answers,
Yes.
instinctive responses, and no explanations. Okay.
No.
So, my first question to you is obesity. Is it a lifestyle issue or a chronic disease?
It's a chronic disease with lifestyle as a contributor, not the culprit.
Diet versus hormones. What matter more?
Diet starts the journey, hormones decide the destination.
Very well put. Cardio or strength training for fat loss.
Fat loss is definitely strength training because your muscles are the engines.
Intermittent fasting. Is it effective or overrated?
Effective for some, universally it is overrated.
Semaglutide. Breakthrough or overhyped?
It's the breakthrough definitely in right hands.
One of the biggest mistake people make when they try to lose weight.
Chasing quick result rather than sustainable results.
One habit that delivers the most sustainable results.
Consistency over intensity.
So, doctor, this has been incredibly insightful. I think one thing is very clear: obesity is not a failure of willpower. It's a condition that needs understanding, science, and the right treatment in the right hands. So, thank you so much for making us understand all this. This has been a wonderful session.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.